So during Arctic Ascents, we got the chance to visit one of the least studied parts of Greenland, which is Eastern Greenland, and in particular the very end of the biggest fjord system in the world called Scoresby Sund. And we got lucky to be able to go to that very location that is just at the border between the ice sheet and the periphery of the ice sheet and the fjord systems. And that really enabled us to study every aspect of these ecosystems, whether it was the glaciers, the ice caps, the peripheral ice caps, but also the outlet glaciers to the Greenland ice sheet. And the goal of this expedition was really to perform a health check of this part of Greenland, and we were able to collect data for 12 different research institutes, and they tasked us to collect data that would respect 18 different research protocols. So there was quite a lot of work to be done, but I'm really glad we were able to do this little health check during Arctic Ascent. Yeah, there were certainly quite a few eye-opening moments during Arctic Ascent. For me, I believe that the one that really shocked me the most was to see the sheer size of the icebergs that were coming out of the Dogard Jensen Glacier, which is an outlet glacier to the Greenland ice sheet. And even though it is totally normal that glaciers calve icebergs, in that, we already know that the Dogard Jensen calves about 10 billion tons of ice per year. Seeing it in real life, seeing it in the flesh was really, mind-boggling. And I remember thinking that all these drifting icebergs really looked like an army of white walkers that were directly contributing to sea level rise. Behind each and every one of these icebergs is the future of New York, of Miami, of Shanghai, of many, many mega cities in the world. And it is hundreds of millions of people who are directly connected to these calving glaciers, to these outlet glaciers of the Greenland ice sheet. So yeah, I was really shocked by this, and one of the big missions we had during Arctic Ascent was to be able to connect the rest of the world with the Arctic and Greenland in particular, and to help them not only connect but relate to what's happening to Greenland, to make them understand that their future is directly in the hands of the Greenland ice sheet, and that the future of the Greenland ice sheet is based on our decisions. So hopefully Arctic Ascent will be able to help people understand that we are intimately connected to the Arctic, and if we lose the Arctic as we know it, we truly lose the rest of the world. So during Arctic Ascent, we collected data for 12 different research institutes. Some of them were in the US, some of them were in Europe and Asia. For example, we had NASA, we had GEUS, we had the University of Liverpool working with us. And they gave us 18 different research protocols to perform on site. And it wasn't easy, but we managed to do 16 out of them, so it wasn't too bad. And right now, the data is still being analyzed by the different research institutes. And hopefully in a few years, the data will be able to make it into bigger data sets and perhaps eventually into publications. So I really look forward to seeing what the data from Arctic Ascent becomes. Yeah, I'm truly a firm believer that science has no impact or very little impact if it is not communicated. So therefore, it is super important that we basically cooperate with these sorts of programs like Arctic Ascent that is streaming today on Disney Plus, which is one of the biggest platforms out there in the world. And this certainly comes with a lot of, challenges and opportunities. To me, I remember when I was first contacted about the project, I told them, look, if there is 1 minute of science in this project, it will be worth it. And I still stand by that. I think it's super, super important that we don't try to focus solely on doing documentaries that are purely about climate change, but documentaries that are a lot more entertaining, a lot more exciting to watch, And this certainly hits the mark because it is combining, world-class climbing with, boots on the ground climate research. It certainly wasn't easy because you sometimes need to summarize very quickly what you're doing and try to derive big conclusions about small experiments that you do in the field. But I love these challenges in science communication. They certainly aren't easy. But it is basically an exercise of its own. We're not there to explain to people how intricate science can be. We're trying to show them why it's important to collect data in the Arctic and why everything that's happening in the Arctic affects the rest of the world. So it is certainly a completely different exercise than doing purely scientific research, but it definitely works together very, very well. And time will tell. I mean, if people care a little bit more about the Arctic and about the science that we do in this beautiful region. Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly a very passionate glaciologist, and I don't think I've met a single scientist working in the Arctic who isn't passionate about what they do. I think we're extremely lucky to be able to kind of take the pulse of the planet in one of the most remote corners of our world. And this is truly a privilege. And I think we get to see some of the most beautiful landscapes on Earth. We get to meet the people who have been living in these regions for thousands of years. And I think there is certainly something that is extremely lucky about it. And I care so much about snow and ice that I really want the whole world to also fall in love with these landscapes. And there's this quote that I often say by Baba Dioum, who is a Senegalese engineer. And he says, you protect what you love what you understand, and you understand what you've been taught. And I think truly the work of scientists today is not only to produce the best possible science, but for some of us, it's also to communicate it to the masses and to make people care and to make people fall in love with these landscapes so they can understand why they need to protect them. And it's certainly very, very difficult to make people care about snow and ice when they've never seen it, when they've never seen an iceberg, never seen a glacier. So this is why it is crucial that we travel to these regions with these filming teams and bring back the best possible stories and the most beautiful landscapes. Because all of this could change very, very quickly if we don't stop burning fossil fuels as soon as possible.